This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Sefer Daniel, Perek Vav, Pasuk Yates. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, and that is because the decree from the king, who was the king of the time? Daryavesh.
Belshazzar?
But Daryavesh was the king, right? Daniel reigned in the times. Daniel reigned in the times of three kings. Daniel was in the time of Nebuchadnezzar, in the time of the idol, the statue. For that event, he found his way to a different place. He was in the time of Belshazzar. He was also in the time of who? Daryavesh. Okay. So Dayan, then, after Daniel was thrown into the lions, then according to the Malbim explains that the decree of the king was that if anybody asks anything of anyone but the king, they would be killed. So Daniel really didn't think that he would be violating the king's request. He was just praying, he was praising, he was being mishabeach, and in Daniel's mind he wasn't really risking his life. However, others learn that even though this is not something that normally you have to give up your life for, to go daven 3 times a day, but nevertheless it's permitted to, you're allowed to. Okay. In any event, Adayin, right then, Azal Malka, the king went, lahechlei, to his palace, uvas tivas. He went to sleep, ubas, lan, Rashi says, he went to sleep, tavas, betainis, hungry. He couldn't bring himself to eat. On the one hand, he's forced. He has to uphold his law, otherwise he looks weak. But on the other hand, he valued Daniel greatly, and it disturbed him that he had to throw Daniel into the lion's den. V'dachavan, and his table, loy hanhel kadamai, he did not have brought before him. In other words, he didn't have his normal meal. Vishimte, and his sleep, nadas alohi, fled from him. So he couldn't sleep. He was disturbed. He went to sleep hungry. He couldn't sleep. Beidayin, then. I wonder what the difference between Edayin is and Beidayin. But okay. Malka bishparpara yikum benaga. Then the king, at dawn, he got up at the crack of light. So the word Beidayin, Malka, bishparpara, like shofar, right? Shofar kadam, ramsha, right? So shfarfara is dawn. Yikum benaga. He got up when it was light. Over his bahala, and with great confusion, Laguba di Aryavasa Azal. He went to the lion's den.
Shfarfara is alosa shachar.
Right.
And Yikum Nagara is Amud La'or HaBoker. That's not the same, is it? Alosa shachar is still dark.
Yeah, but it starts getting light already.
Alosa HaBoker will be the first light.
So look, Bishfarpara is Alosa Shachar. When did he get up? Yikum
Maybe he opened his
benaga.
eyes by Alosa shachar, but he decided to snooze a little bit and get up.
Yeah, others.
HaBoker.
Yeah. The Ibn Ezra also learns Bishfarpara is Alosa Shachar, but others learn that the word naga is darkness. He got up in darkness. It's interesting that in many editions, the word Shfarpara, the Minchashai points out, the first pei is small, and the second one is big. Why is that? It's because that at the first time, Daryavesh. Yeah? Let me see. So in Charlie's the first. Okay, you have the second one big. Yeah. First one small.
Also.
Yours also. Let me see. You have the first one small also. I don't have any simanim here, other than the Minchashai says that the first time Daryavesh had a chance to open up his mouth was small. He didn't want to speak up to defend Daniel. But now when he is going to accuse the ones who
when he
convinced
was saved
him
already, he wasn't scared of them.
No, when he was going to accuse the people who were responsible for throwing Daniel into the den, so then he has what we call a big mouth. Okay, fine. Uvespahala leguba di'ar yavasa azan. With great haste, he runs to the lion's den. Uchemikrave leguba. As he approaches the den, the Daniel the kol atziv to Daniel, in a very sad voice, he calls out. So Daryavish, in effect, is crying out to Daniel. Ane Malka, the king speaks up. The Amr Daniel, and he says to Daniel, Daniel, Avad Elakach Chaya, the servant of the living God, Elakach Diant Palachle, Bestira, the God that you serve always, was he able to save you from the lions? In other words, a very remorseful and very contrite Daryavish comes to the opening of the den, crying out, saying, Daniel, Daniel, the servant of the living God, who you always serve, was your God able to save you? Maybe Daryavish sounded like he had a real strong possibility that in fact Daniel's God did save him. So Adayin then, Daniel and Malka Malal. Daniel speaks to the king. Malka la'omen chayi. Long live the king. It's amazing, even after the king had thrown him into the lion's den. Most people would have said, you bum king, you no good Nick. But still, Daniel at all times he has covered for the Malchus. And the first thing he says is, Malka la'omen chayi. Pasuk Chav Gimel, Elaki, my God, Shalach Malache, he sent his angel. He sent his angel. Usagar, and he closed Po Maryavasa, the mouth of the lion. V'lachabluni, he didn't damage me. He didn't damage me.
What about the paws? They're just the mouth. I mean, the lion is dangerous not just because of his teeth. Big, strong paws can kill very easily too.
Right here. Apparently, it's all included.
It's all included because the reason why he strikes with his paws is because he wants to bite. He wants to eat you. He wants to eat you. So it all connects to
so
the
if he closes his mouth, he's not going to use his paws?
No, because if he can't eat, there's no use for using his paws.
Only if he's
going to eat you, he's going to strike out with his paws.
I'm not about to test that theory, but I'm not so sure it's accurate.
Okay. Either way, we get the Hashem protected him. Kal kavel di kadamayi. Kal kavel, because di kadamayi, before him, before God, zachu hishtechachasli, he found some merit in me. V'yav kadamach malka, and even before you, king, chabula layavdis, I didn't do anything wrong. Daniel is reiterating to the king, first of all, God has spared me. He obviously has found some merit in me. And secondly, I never did anything wrong against you. Like we explained, Daniel was innocently davening. He didn't violate the command of the king. The Malbim says, I didn't violate your words. As if to say, what Daniel is saying to the king is, listen king, I'll prove to you that I didn't violate your command. Because if I would have violated your command, then God never would have saved me. Because why would God save me if I did something wrong against the king?
Well, and Hashem usually doesn't interfere in the doings of
a man.
Right?
So the fact that God intervened to save me, that shows, king, I didn't do anything wrong against you either. Okay? Beidayin, at that point, Malka Sagi Te'ev Alohi. It was very good in the eyes of the king. The king was very pleased. Ula Daniel, and regarding Daniel, Amar, the king said, Lehansaka, to take him out, min guba, from the pit. Vehusak Daniel min guba. Daniel was removed from the pit. There were no wounds on him, no scratches. He was, in mint condition. Because he trusted in his God. Amar Malka. Then the king spoke. And they brought Govraya Ilech, these men, Di Achalu Kartsohi. Now what does it mean, Di Achalu Kartsohi?
They ate Winkies.
They ate winks. Remember that?
Right,
They
yeah.
ate winks. Like the pasuk says. I'm happy you
They
enjoyed
ate
that.
Winkies.
Okay.
Ones that made the allegations again.
Yeah, like we explained that like Selech Rachel Be'amecha, the Targum translates Lo Seichel Kortzen. Don't eat winks. Why eat? Because the Bali Lashon Hara used to discuss their Lashon Hara over
They
food.
used to eat there to
And
make
they used
it to
L'kayim Devarim.
L'kayim Devarim.
To give it verification, and then they used to wink to each other. Right? If you want to say good Lashon Hara, you don't say so and so is, he's intellectually challenged. You go. Right? You don't say it outright. It's much more effective when you could get the message across without actually saying words. Okay? Di Daniel, and he called the people who made accusations against Daniel, Ulagoy va Yavas Ramai, who threw him into lions then. Inun. Oh, sorry. Ulagoy va Yavasa, and into lions then, Ramai, he threw them. Inun them. Bnei and their sons, Unashena and their wives. So Daryavish now gathers all the accusers, their families, the whole mishpacha, all the children.
Why the children and the wife? What did they do?
They're a subsidiary. It's like,
They didn't.
it's like Ir Hanidachas. Even the animals get burnt. It's part of the punishment.
They
part
support them. They disagree.
No, because you kill
Part of the Einish.
You kill the father, the children grow up and want revenge. So you prevent that.
In Haman, they killed his sons. They didn't kill Zeresh, did they?
Well, I don't know. We don't see, unless if she was an Amaleki, maybe they killed her too. But in this case, Daryavish ordered the whole family off with their heads. They didn't even reach the floor of the pit. Adi shalitu v'hain Aryavasa, before the lions had completely consumed them. In other words, lest anybody think, why Daniel was not harmed by the lions. They're vegetarian lions, yeah? They're liberals.
They weren't hungry that day.
They weren't hungry that day. These guys, as soon as they're thrown in, the lions, their mouth is open wide. They swallow them, right? The lions crushed all of their bones.
They were frustrated. Daniel was there, and they weren't allowed to eat him.
Their mouths shut. They didn't eat. They were hungry.
So yeah, their appetites were all worked up.
But the onlooker definitely would not say these were not hungry lions. Okay. Beidayan, then, Daryavish Malka, Daryavish the king, Kisav l'chol Amamaya, wrote to all the peoples, Umaya nations, Velishanaya and languages, Didoyin M'chalara, that lived all over the world, Shalom Chayin Yiskei, your peace shall proliferate. Peace to you. Min kadamai sim te'em, I issue forth a decree from before me, Di b'chol shotan malchusi, that anywhere where my kingdom has dominion, lehavoin zayin, they should tremble, v'dachalin, and fear min kadam, elokei di Daniel. They should fear the God of Daniel. Dihu elokah chaya v'kaya, for he is a living and enduring God, la'omen, forever. U'malchusei di los is chabal, his kingdom will never be destroyed. The Shaltani and his dominion ad Sefer will be until the end of time. Mishezev, he rescues. Umatzel, he saves. The Aved Asin v'Simhain, he makes signs and wonders. V'Shmaya, in the heavens, V'Yara, and in the earth. Dishezev Daniel, because he was able to save Daniel min Yad Aryavasa, from the paws of the lion.
See here, from the paws, not me.
Yeah. So you have over here an idea, Divrei Torah, Aniyim b'makam echad v'ashirim b'makam acher. So Bazeh v'limin alzeh. Apparently, both were miraculous. Also, perhaps, now that it says that their bones were broken, and they didn't even reach the floor by the time they were consumed, so how does a lion break the bones of its prey? With its mouth? With its paws?
The lion, when it kills, it takes the jaw and the neck and breaks the neck and the windpipe.
But with what does it break it? With its
Jaw.
mouth or its teeth?
Brings the animal down with its feet, and then grabs it by the neck, and breaks the neck.
That he needed a seizure.
Okay.
At least that's what the discovery shows.
Okay. So Rabbi say we've one more pasuk in Perek Vav. The Daniel Dina. This Daniel Hatzlach. He was successful b'malchus Daryavesh during the reign of the king Daryavesh, uve malchus Koresh Parsha, and during the reign of the Persian king Koresh.
What is
So
the
he
word
was by
Dana
4
here?
kings.
What does Dana mean?
What?
This Daniel Dana. Why didn't you say the Daniel Hatzlach? Daniel Dana. Does that imply there was a different Daniel?
Yeah.
In the time, but no, in the time probably.
No, we ties it as this Daniel.
Meaning that
But
Der Daniel was merat von ihm.
no, and this
No,
the
the
deal
deal
that
of
was
the
in the time of
he was successful.
You want to know why this? What is it adding this? Okay, I'm not sure. But it's interesting, the Malbim points out that Daniel had power until the first year of Koresh. Now, Rashi says, who's Koresh? Koresh was the king after Daryavesh. Because Daryavesh, Hamadai, how long did he reign for? How long did Daryavesh reign? Rashi brings down, Daryavesh only reigned for a total of 1 year. And he was killed in battle, like it says in the Sefer Yosifon. And his son-in-law, Koresh, took over.
Cyrus.
Yeah, that's Koresh, yeah. Now, the Malbim points out that if you look in Yosifon, after Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, he asked permission from Daryavesh to be exempt from the service of the king and to go to Shushan, and he received permission. And who took over Daniel's job as the advisor to the king? A man by the name of Zerubbabel.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Daryavesh dies, Koresh takes over, and Koresh remains until the Aliyah of Bnei Yisrael in the times of Ezra.
And Zerubbabel continued to be the
advisor?
Cyrus, or once the Avish was out, he changed his advisor.
In the Ginsburg, he was
Okay.
we still there.
Yeah. Okay, Rabbi say, Perek Zayin. Now, Perek Zayin is a little bit different than the first 6 prakim of Sefer Daniel. The first 6 prakim of Sefer Daniel were written by Anshe Knesset Agdola. From Perek Zayin and on, this is going to be the first person account of Daniel himself writing his own experience. So this is going to be a little bit of a change in the Sefer. Until now, it's the Anshe Knesset Agdola recording the story of Daniel. From Perek Zayin and on, beginning really from Perek Zayin Pasuk Gimel, this is going to be the words of Daniel in the first person account. So let's see, the Malbim says that this begins Kan Masrel Hachilak Hasheni Mizeh HaSefer. This begins the second portion of Sefer Daniel. The first portion of the Sefer talks about the happenings of Daniel. And now it's going to talk about Daniel's prophecy. Okay? Except for this first pasuk, Perek Zayin pasuk Aleph, which is the words of the Anshe Knesset Agdola, who are speaking on his behalf. Now, Rabbi say, why is Daniel having this nevuah right now? Because we have to understand that Yirmiyahu had a prophecy on Nebuchadnezzar that Klal Yisrael will serve Nebuchadnezzar and his son and his grandson. Who is the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar?
Daryavesh.
Belshazzar. So once Belshazzar is reigning, and Hashem said once Klal Yisrael serves the grandson, Bavel will end. It's necessary at this point for Hashem to come and remind Klal Yisrael, don't worry, the end is near. Because now that we fulfilled the prophecy of Yirmiyahu, that we've served not only Nebuchadnezzar but his grandson, so now is the Babylonian Empire is coming to an end. So Perek Zayin pasuk Aleph, Bishnas Chada leBelshazzar. In the first year of Belshazzar's reign, so we're back to Belshazzar. That's why, we've discussed so far the reigns of Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, and Daryavesh. Now we're going back to the first year of Belshazzar's reign, Melech Bavel. Daniel Chelem Chaza. Daniel saw a dream. The Chezvei Reishei Al Mishkavei, and the visions of his head were on his bed. Beidayin then Chelma Kesav, he wrote down the dream, so now as not to forget it. Reish Milan Amar, speaking out the main points. In other words, what we're about to hear is not the full account of the dream. The dream may have had many more details, but he Reish Milan, the chief, the Reish Milan, the chief points, the head points, right? The Malbim has an unbelievable explanation for what this means. Reish Milan Amar, and that is, we just explained that the first 6 prakim of Daniel are different than the rest. The first 6 prakim, who wrote? The Anshe Knesset Agdola. Now this is the first-hand account of Daniel saying over his nevuah. And the halacha is that before a prophet records Kisvei HaKodesh, he's required to speak out the words first. He's required to say the words and then record it. So says the Malbim, this is what the pasuk means. Reish, first. Right? It just says, Chelma Ksav, he wrote down the dream, but Reish, first, Milan Amar, he said out the words. Because that's the halacha, before you record Kisvei HaKodesh, you have to speak out the words. Listen to the words of the Malbim. The Malbim says,
somebody should hear it or just speak it out?
Speak it out. Speak it out. Says the Malbim, Reish Milan Amar, B'nei HaMichtav Hazeh, this letter, Dinah Kisvei HaKodesh, has the halachic status of scriptures. Amar, so the Navi says, Kol Davar Mipiv, Amar Kol Davar Mipiv, he said out each word from his mouth, Tarim Shaloi Sayal Sefer, before he recorded it. Shekein Adin, that is the halacha, B'koisev Kisvei HaKodesh, Baruch HaKodesh, that when one writes scriptures with the Holy Spirit, you're required first to speak out the words. So that's the meaning of the pasuk. First, what did he do? Chelma Ksav, he wrote it down. But Reish, first, Milan Amar, he said the words. Ane Daniel spoke up. Yamar, and he said, Chazei Haves, I saw Bechezvi in my vision Imloya in the night. That means it doesn't mean he just had a dream at night. In the dream, the background of the dream was nighttime. Va'aru, and behold, Arba Ruchei Shemaya, the 4 winds of the heavens, Megichan.
What's Megichan?
We're stirring up. We're stirring up. What does that mean? What is it? Right? Liyama Rabba, the great sea. What does Megichan mean? Megichan comes from a lashon of
Megicha, kicking.
Ki yigach shar.
Stoisen.
What?
Stoisen.
Stoisen means kicking.
Scoring, right? Okay.
Stirring up.
Stirring up.
Yeah.
So the 4 ends of the heavens, we're stirring up the great sea. The Arba Chivan Ravervan, and 4 great wild animals. Salkan Minyama, we're coming out of the sea. Shanyan Da Min Da. Each animal is different from the other. So 4 different animals are coming out of the sea. Now the 4 winds represent 4 different forces. Each nation of the world has its source of kayach in a certain kayach atoma, so to speak. And this is represented by the 4 winds. And the 4 malchios are going to be depicted as 4 different types of animals. Kadmoisa Che'aryeh. The first one is like a lion. V'gapen dina sharla, but it had the wings of an eagle. Chazei Haves, I saw it. I saw it. Adi meritu gapai, until its wings were plucked.
Until its wings were?
Plucked.
Oh, plucked.
Plucked. Unetilas minara, and it was removed from the ground. Via raglayin ke'enosh hakimas, until it stood like a man on its feet. Ulavav enosh yihivle, and it was given it the heart of man.
What means an etilas minara?
It was removed. The lion was removed from the ground. Okay, Rabbi, so let's see Rashi over here. Who is this Malchus that's depicted like a lion and depicted like an eagle?
But it's a stira. How does it say? Netilas minara And then it says, "Varagrayin kana shekimas." It stood up like a. So it wasn't taken from the ara. It's a stira.
Okay.
Varagrayin kana shekimas.
I mean, if it was removed from the ground, how could it stand up straight like a man? So let's see Rashi.
Well, it could be hovering in the air, upright.
Let's see Rashi. Kadmaisa ka'arye. The first one was like a lion. Vegapen dina sharla. It had wings like an eagle. He ka'arye. This creature was a lion. Vela kanfenesha. But it had eagle's wings.
Isn't that kind of the image of the Kruvim?
Well, were the Kruvim lions? I don't know that they were lions, but
They had the wings, no?
there were lions on the Paraychas. There were, right? So this creature was a lion. It had eagle's wings. Zuhi Malchus Bavel. This was the Babylonian Empire. Shahaisa Mashelas Ba'isasha, that had dominion at that time. Now, why is it compared both to a lion and an eagle? Ve'kach Ra Isa Yirmiyah. Yirmiyah, when he saw the impending Babylonian Empire, he saw it like a lion. Shenemar Ola Aryeh Misivchai. The lion ascends from its thicket. Va'omer, and it also says, Hine Kasher Yideh, it will soar like a eagle. But then, says Daniel, I saw its wings were removed. Nimratu Kinafela. Its wings were plucked.
Maybe clipped.
Clipped.
Clipped the wings.
Zuhi remez l'mapala. So that represents the downfall,
Can't fly anymore.
right, of Bavel. Unatilas min aretz, removed from the earth. Lashon nistalik min aretz. Remez shetibatel hamachos maretz. That's a remez that Babylon will disappear. So what does it mean? It will stand up like a man, and it will be given a man's heart. It says Rashi, Lashon chalashas kama yadu agoyim enosh hemasela. When we say it will be stand up like a man is very weak compared to a lion, compared to an eagle. A human being is more frail. So the meaning of it will have the heart of a man is it will no longer have that furious, ferocious attitude. It will dissipate. It will be meek like a man. In other words, it will crumble. Okay, now I believe Rav Sadigain has a different take on what it means that he was like an eagle, because we learned earlier that Nebuchadnezzar grew nails like an eagle, right? He turned into like a behemoth, he turned into a chaya. But then eventually he was restored to his human self, right? So that's what it means, that v'al raglayin ke'enosh hakimas.
When Rashi says that man is weak in relation to a lion,
yeah,
we know that a lion is the king of the jungle. He really has no known animal predators, as far as I know. But man is his predator. So in the food chain, so to speak, man is higher. So, in terms of brute strength, maybe the lion is stronger. But in terms of who is higher in the chain, man is higher.
but okay. Specifically, the term enosh reflects the weak state of man. In other words, we could use chachma to trap the lion, but in terms of brute strength, a man and a lion is not a match. So the term enosh, whenever, let's say you say in Tehillim,
Enosh is a lower term of Adam. Adam is a higher term. Enosh is the lowest term.
right, like in Tehillim, whenever it says enosh, Rashi brings down, the goyim will realize that they're only enosh. In other words, they're only basar v'dam. So the basar v'dam. Okay, so that's the first animal. The first animal is the lion and the eagle. Right. So what I told you before, that the from Rav Sadia Goin, that he will be removed from the ground. Rav Sadia Goin translates when he had his downfall, but then eventually he'll stand back on his feet when he was chozer lamalchus. Okay, so malchus number one was Bavel. Rabbi said, does anybody remember which metal Bavel was compared to?
Iron?
The first.
Gold.
Right? Gold. Why? Because Bavel was the malchus that represented great power, great arrogance. In other words, they're the kings. They're the lion, the eagle. Gold is the choicest metal. Now we're up to the second malchus. What?
Bronze of the Greek was bronze.
Right, Rome. Rome is going to be iron. Now we're up to
Very solemn. It says of the Mauritian and then Enosh. Enosh is a downcast
yeah.
of the Mauritian.
And a shuf. Population. The Menshai.
Pasuk K. Va'aru, and behold, Cheva achari sinyana, another animal, Dam yaladayv, similar to a bear. Now the Mincha Shai says that the word ladayv is missing a vav. It could also be read as ladayv. A ladayv is a wolf. Ladayv is a wolf. So the word ladayv is spelled chaser vav, which refers to madai. Now, very interestingly, who saved Klal Yisrael from Galus Bavel? Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Daniel. Which Shevet did they come from? Yehuda. Yehuda is compared to what animal? Lion. So Nebuchadnezzar is like a lion. Daniel, Shevet Yehuda, lion. Now we're going to learn about the Persians. The Persians are like a bear, but also according to the Mincha Shai, they're like a wolf. Who's going to save us from the Persians? Mordechai from Shevet Binyamin. Binyamin is Ze'ev Yitra, right? He's a wolf. It's interesting. Philistar Chad Hakemas. And the bear stands to one side. Uslas Ilin Befuma. He has 3 ribs in his mouth. Bein Shina, between his teeth. Okay, so it's a bear with 3 ribs between its teeth. V'chein omrin la, and they say to it, Kumi, get up.
Who says to it?
They.
Who's they?
Who's they? We'll have to see. V'chein omrin la, they say to it, Kumi, get up. Achuli, eat besar sagi, a lot of meat. Now, Rabbi say, what do bears usually eat?
Everything.
Everything.
Garbage.
But primarily bears eat.
They're carnivorous animals.
They don't eat meat.
They don't really eat
They
meat.
eat fish, they
More on the
eat other
vegetarian.
animals.
They eat honey.
They turn over all the garbage cans in Muncie.
Bears eat plants.
They turn over all the garbage cans in Muncie. The challah.
I didn't ask what they do in Muncie. In general, I want to know.
They eat only the black garbage.
They eat the challah, the kugel, all the leftovers.
They eat international, they don't touch.
Rabbi say, bears
They eat all
usually,
the challah leftovers.
usually bears are
Vegetarian.
Rivers.
yeah.
They eat fish.
They eat fish.
They usually eat plants. However, if necessary, they'll eat meat. But there has to be a specific reason for them to eat meat. It's not like a bear. Rabbi says it's not like a bear. His diet is he eats meat 3 times a day. A bear is not like a lion. A lion is eating meat all the time. A bear, he'll eat meat if he needs to eat meat. So the same thing about...
A lion doesn't need dessert. A bear needs dessert. He needs berries in this.
Yeah.
He needs
So
dessert.
The Persian Empire is compared to the bear. Why? Because it wasn't like Bavel. Bavel was an evil empire. They went around, they murdered, they killed, they destroyed, they pillaged. The Persians were basically peaceful unless they had a reason to go out and they were given a special supernatural order, go kill. That represents the bear. The bear, he's eating his berries, but until he's ordered, go eat those 3 ribs. We'll have to see who the 3 ribs are. Let's see Rashi over here. Achari, another animal. Acharas, Tinyana, Sha'alsa Shniya Minayam, he came up second from the sea. Dam Yeladayv, similar to a bear. Zarem Ezamachas Paras. That is reflective of the Persian Empire. Shatimlach.
A whale? What is this animal?
What?
What animal came up from the sea?
No, all the animals came from the sea. They came, the bear, Shatimlach Achar Bavel, who ruled after Babylon. Sha'oichlim, the Gemara Megillah says, why are the Babylonians compared to bears? Because they eat like bears, they drink like bears, and they're fat like bears. And they're
Persians, not Babylonians.
Right, they're the Persians.
They sleep like bears.
Persians, they eat, they sleep, they drink, and they're fat like bears. Right? Don't tell it to your, Iranian friends. But that's what the Gemara says. They're oichlin, v'shoisim, kadoiv, and they're corpulent like a bear. Damya ledoiv, ledav ksiv, kamai diba. Diba is the targum of a wolf. She'av zev nikras malchus paras. Persia is also called a wolf. Shenemar, al kain he came aryeh miyar.
The wolf is carnivorous, definitely carnivorous. The wolves won't eat the herbs unless they're really in dire straits. They're hunters and killers. So
you have this, duality.
Dichotomy.
Yeah, that they're like bears, they're like wolves. Ulastar chad hakemas, ulatzad echad omda. They stood to one side. Remez l'sheyivsaik malchus Bavel. That shows when Bavel is up. Tamtin paras shana achas. Persia will not come immediately. In other words, why does it say that Persia stood at the side? Why does it say the bear stood at the side of the lion? To say that when the lion was finished, when Babylon was finished, Persia didn't step to the plate immediately. It waited for 1 year until the Medians, Madai, finished their reign. Uletlas ilin befume, there are 3 ribs in its mouth. Shalosh tzlais, 3 ribs. Avasena Pershu. Our rabbis explained, Gimel Medinois, Hayu Tamin Mardosba. There were 3 communities that were always rebelling against Persia. Umashlim Shima Pamim, and sometimes they made peace. Pamim Bailasan or Pamim Paltasan. Sometimes Persia swallowed them, sometimes they spit them out. That's what it means. The ribs were stuck between their teeth, sometimes inside, sometimes outside. However, Rashi says, what's the significance of the 3 ribs? There were 3 Persian kings: Koresh, Achashverosh, and Daryavesh. Basar Sagi, a lot of meat. Basar Harbe. Right, so that is the second Malchus, the Malchus of Persia. Rabbi, so we will hold it over here.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.